longer finishing school. My name is Chioma Woke. I'm the head of HR for Zynox Group. Today, I'll be talking about corporate etiquette. Now, we have talked about what corporate etiquette is, and I'll be talking about the various aspects of corporate etiquette, especially when interacting with colleagues in the workplace. Now, etiquette enables you, like I said, put your best foot forward. So it allows you to behave in a socially accepted way, and also helps you to stand out from the crowd. Now, when you're interacting with your colleagues in the workplace, there's some do's and some don'ts that has to be applied. The first of them is that you have to be respectful. I cannot overemphasize the importance of respect in the workplace. You need to be respectful of each and every one of your colleagues. You respect every single person that you interact with every single day, irrespective of your mood. Another thing is that you have to be cordial with everyone. Not overly familiar, but cordial with your colleagues. You have to, of course, respect and cordial works hand in hand. So it's also very, very important. While you're at work, it's important to help your colleagues, especially when you don't have as much task at hand. When you notice that a colleague is struggling with something or you're less busy, it speaks well of you as an individual, and also it says that you are part of the team. You imbibe the spirit of teamwork. When you ask your colleague, hello, Ignatius, I found out that you're struggling with this. I hope you wouldn't mind if I can help you or give you suggestions on how best to manage this task. It shows that you are a good team member in the corporate space. And of course, when you need help, it will be very easy for your colleagues to also help you. Now, one thing that I always tell my colleagues is that you should learn to keep your private life away from the office. Keep your private life away from the office. It reduces any form of gossip in the office. So it's also very, very important that we imbibe this in the workplace. Now, we all have different characters. We all have different temperaments. But whatever you do in the workplace, try as much as possible not to overreact, no matter the emotions that are going through your mind at that time. Like I talked about respect, do not be rude in the workplace. Irrespective of how you feel about a situation or anyone, make sure you avoid being rude. And that's where respect also comes in. And then for line managers or team leads, it's always important that you admonish in private and praise in public. It's very, very key. And it also builds the synergy within the team. Now, aside from how we interact in the workplace, I'd like to talk about meeting etiquette. What is expected of us when we go into a meeting or when we're called for a meeting? The first thing and the most important is to know what the meeting is about. It would be good for you if you are calling for a meeting to share an agenda so that everyone who attends that meeting would have an understanding or at least a background knowledge of what they're coming in for so they can prepare themselves accordingly. Now, when you're called in for a meeting, it's important that you respect the time. Time is very, very, very important when it comes to respect. If a meeting is scheduled for 9 o'clock, you don't just stand up from your desk at 9 o'clock and say you're going for a meeting. 9 o'clock, you're expected to be seated and ready for that meeting, whether it's a virtual meeting or it's a physical meeting. In fact, the rule of thumb states that you should be available at least 15 minutes before the meeting time so that you're prepared mentally and physically for this meeting. Another thing is that when you walk into a meeting room and the meeting has started, you try as much as possible to avoid any form of distraction. You try as much as possible to reduce any distraction from the person who is already facilitating the meeting and also the people who are actually at the meeting table. So you come in carefully, you walk quietly, walk to the back because you're late. You don't expect to go and then just walk to the front and sit down. That's not expected of you in a corporate setting. Now, while in your meeting, you ensure that you do not chew, whether it is gum or food or drinks, except you have the permission of the people in the meeting Maybe there could be extenuating circumstances like maybe health-wise or what have you that would necessitate you having to eat. But rule of thumb states that you should not eat during the meeting, because when you start chewing, you begin to distract other people that are in the meeting space with you. Like I keep saying, this applies to both physical and virtual meeting. Even if you're on a telephone, if you're chewing while you're on the phone, the person on the other end will actually hear you chew. Another thing is that when you are in a meeting room or when you're in a meeting with someone, if you recall when we talked about respect, it means giving someone your undivided attention. Do not take calls when you're in a meeting, except you take permission for that. I'll accept if it's in an emergency. But if it's a call that you can move to another time, you can respectfully just decline that call so that you give the people that are in that meeting room or the person you're with your full attention. Now, I'd like to talk about internet and email etiquette. Yes, we have etiquette governing internet and email, especially in the workplace. First thing is that when you type an email to send out, your email has to be self-explanatory. It's very important that when you send out an email, the person that is receiving your email understands what you are referring to or what you're talking about, rather than having to go back and forth. Of course, there could be some queries that will be raised from that email, but it's very important that you put as much information as possible in an email when you're sending it out. Now, you need to also consider your topic. Your topic should align with whatever it is you're sending out, your heading. So you have to put a heading that relates to the email that you're sending out to the recipient. Now, when you send out an email, it's very important that you ensure that you read through the mail to make sure that there are no typos. You make sure that your English is well coordinated, or the language in which you're sending that email is well coordinated and addressed. You also make sure that you do not send out mails in caps or in red. Sometimes people send out an email and you put it in caps. When you send an email in caps, what it means is that you're shouting. That's what it means on the internet, that you're shouting. And then when you put it in red, it means you are very angry. And we don't want to communicate that via email. Because like I said, when it comes to etiquette, respect is key. And you also need to be polite, irrespective of your emotions at that time. So I always tell people that when you want to send out an email and you're high-strung, maybe you're upset, it's best that you put a hold on it first, calm down, get your thoughts together before you type that mail. Or sometimes, you might want to type the mail before you hit send. Take a walk. It enables you to really look into what it is you're about to send out holistically. And it gives you a second opinion so that you send out an email that is professional. Because at the end of the day, you need to come across as being professional in all that you do. Now, aside from that, when you send out an email, make sure you have your official signature closing that email so that the person who's receiving your email knows who on how to reach you. So you have your email address there, you have your office address, if it's an official email, you have your telephone number visible in the mail so that the person can also reach you. And of course, when you're sending out an official email or an email in a corporate setting, you should not use abbreviations. You should mind the language. You shouldn't use the one-on-one or day-to-day lingua that we use, BRB, be right back. No. Now, when you send an email, you make sure that you close your email. You always close it with best regards, yours sincerely, thank you. That's the best way to close an email. Now, aside from sending out email, when we interact on the internet or social media, it's very important that you respect other people's views. We talked about the principles of etiquette, and one of them we said was consideration. You consider others, you have empathy, and you also have to be open-minded. So don't be closed-minded and just say, okay, because I believe this is what this should be, I'm going to push my view in there, irrespective of what the next person thinks. When you're interacting with people on the internet, you need to learn to be open-minded. Thank you very much.